Ripple has wrapped up its flagship Swell conference here in Dubai. I spoke with Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse on stage at the event. I asked about Ripple's battle with the Securities and Exchange Commission over the status of its XRP token and what Ripple's recent court win means for the scope of SEC power over the crypto space. Listen in.
Ripple has had 3 consecutive victories over the SEC on this. First, the judgment on July 13th saying very clearly XRP is not in and of itself a security. Second, the denial by the court for their request for an interlocutory appeal. And third, the dismissal with prejudice, the allegations against Chris Larson and myself. So, look, one of the things that people talk about is one of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and thinking you'll get a different outcome. The SEC is doing the same thing over and over again, and they think, I guess, they're going to get a different outcome. At some point, and you and I talked also backstage about a Grayscale also had I think, an important victory in the United States about the Bitcoin ETF, where the judge, again, this is a federal judge talking about a federal agency in the SEC saying, quote, the SEC is being arbitrary and capricious. Generally, judges tend to be pretty, down the middle and try to not be dramatic. Like, those are damning words. So I think at some point the SEC has to step back and realize that their approach of regulation through enforcement, let's just bring lawsuits, that has to break.
So walk me through the next steps in this case. Today was the deadline for the briefing schedule for remedies. The SEC wants something like $770 million in disgorgement.
Yeah. What
happens next?
Well, I in a session that I did in Washington yesterday, I made the joke around, I'd like to see the Vegas odds on, what could be what's called the remedies from the case. Look, I think the SEC, in my opinion, has lost sight of their mission to protect investors. And the question is, who are they protecting in this journey? And it turns out that the judge will make a decision about remedies. We actually welcome that. I think that in this case, you look at what investors were harmed, and you also have to look at the securities laws and understand, are there exemptions for institutional and accredited investors and things like that? But look, I think it is a positive step for the industry, not just for Ripple, not just for Chris and Brad, but for the whole industry, that the SEC has been put in check in the United States. And I'm hopeful this will be kind of a thawing of the permafrost in the United States for really seeing an amazing industry that has immense potential thrive in the largest economy in the world.
We also spoke about the collapse of FTX and the recent ruling against founder Sam Bankman-Fried. He now faces up to 110 years in prison after being found guilty on all counts in his fraud trial. Here's how Garlinghouse described the impact for the sector.
I said to my friends, I thought that he was going to end up going to jail. And you know what? I didn't follow the case super closely. It's clear laws were broken. I don't know what is in his mind or his intent. I knew him. I know him a little bit. I mean, there's definitely things that happened there that you're like, it's just hard for me to calculate how those things happened. I mean, I think about how Ripple is run, and as a professional organization, like, it could never happen. From our compliance team, from our chief legal officer, the whole team, like, it could never happen. So I don't know. There's a lot of lack of controls there, and I think it's certainly sad and bad for crypto. But again, I think in the long journey that has been crypto, it's another speed bump that has built resilience, and I think hopefully made the industry smarter.
And with Bitcoin and XRP both showing upward price momentum in November, I also asked, what's next for the market?
Yeah, I'm going to dodge that question as best I can. Look, I don't know how to think about these things in the short-term prediction. If you look at previous patterns, people have talked about Uptober. Certainly, November has generally been a good month. But, going into the Bitcoin halving, people talk about. Certainly an ETF getting approved could create a lot of capital flowing into the market. I don't know how to balance those things against other macro factors. I go back to kind of first principles around big picture. What do we need for this industry to thrive? We need regulatory clarity. We need lots of utility. We need to be solving problems at scale, not experiments, not possibilities. But look, I look at the excitement. Have you heard some of that on this stage in the past 2 days around tokenization? I look at, I just think if you zoom out and look at what do the next 5 or 10 years look like for this industry, I'm extremely optimistic. And I think people will be surprised. You know, there's a Silicon Valley expression that people often overestimate what's going to happen in 5 years, but underestimate what happens in 10. There are, kind of macro exponential forces that I think really will continue to catapult this industry.